Today we've got your full in-depth review of the Tamron 70-180 F2.8 G2. This is the second version of this fantastic lens from Tamron, and I'm happy to say that it's been upgraded in just about every single way. So in this video, we're going to be breaking it down to figure out whether it's going to be a good fit for you or not, covering everything that's relevant, and also comparing it to a few other lenses in the category, like the Sony 70-200 G Master Mark II, and of course, the original as well. So let's dive in here, guys. Here is some basic specs to get you going on this lens. And if you haven't seen one of my videos before and it ends up helping you out, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and join the community. So let's dive right in and talk about the most important aspect of this thing, how it performs, of course. Here are some of my favorite photo examples from my time with this lens so far. And as you can see, it is quite a great performer. It's sharp where it needs to be. The autofocus is just fantastic. And being a fast f2.8, it's gonna give you some beautiful autofocus backgrounds. It's gonna be great in low light. And this is a sports tailored lens, so it's gonna be great from everything to sports to wildlife and even landscape and just pretty much anything that you're gonna throw at it. Just know that it's gonna perform when it matters with fast moving subjects or otherwise. So let's jump in and talk about the autofocus of this lens. Utilizing Tamron's newer VXD focusing motors, the autofocus of this lens is very impressive. Its tracking has been improved over the original version, and I found pretty much no situation where this thing gave me any hiccups. It's very quick and very reliable.
When it comes to video, it's just as impressive. Here on my A7 IV with the fastest transition setting, you can see that it's not a problem keeping up with exactly what I want it to hit. Even in this extreme low light test, it doesn't miss a beat. This is admittedly better than I thought it would perform under these conditions, so hats off to Tamron for nailing the autofocus performance of this lens.
Now, when it comes to the manual focus experience, I feel like it's been improved. It feels more accurate, more intuitive, just more natural compared to the original. And you can, of course, choose between a linear and non-linear function using their app, which you can go in and customize with your focus hold button here and your 3 custom dials that we'll talk about later. But for me, the manual focus experience has been improved with no complaints. In terms of focus breathing, definitely no deal breakers. As you can see here, it's going to perform adequately. For me, not a problem with most lenses and definitely not in this one. So if you are a video shooter, keep that in mind. Now, one big upgrade of this lens compared to the original is that it's now image stabilized, which was a big critique of a lot of people. Being an almost 200mm lens, it's nice to have a bit of extra stability when you're out that far. So I'm happy to say that the vibration compensation feature of this lens does perform extraordinarily well, as you can see here. Like I mentioned, this lens is going to be a great performer for a lot of things, again, from sports to wildlife and definitely portraits. A 180mm f2.8 lens is going to make for some beautiful compression and just great portraits. Another great improvement on this guy is the minimum focus distance, which has been drastically improved from the original, which was about 33 inches. Now it's under 12 inches, allowing you to get extraordinarily close to your subject, resulting in some macro-like photography. Now that's really fun for me. I love the versatility of that. So just know that they have improved on that by a large amount. And yeah, just another great feature of this lens. Now, as you've seen, this is a very sharp lens, but for you pixel peepers, let's jump in here and have a look at the sharpness in detail and how it compares to a few competitors.
Okay, so starting here at 70mm wide open at f2.8, of course the center of the image is going to be nice and sharp as expected, but what's really nice is the corners, even wide open here, are very impressive, like a 9 out of 10 sharpness. As we stop down to f4 here, it's just almost a flawless performance. Very, very, very good. And as we can see, as we stop down a little bit, we can see just a tiny bit of vignetting disappear down to f5.6, and this is just an incredible performance optically. Stopping down further to f8 here, just amazing across the board, just a very, very sharp lens. And we can continue down to f11, of course, still looking really good. And down to f16 here, we can start to see just a hint of softness start to creep in from diffraction. And then down to our minimum aperture of f22, we can just see a tiny bit of haze, completely usable image for me, but overall at 70mm, very impressive performance. And here we are at 180mm wide open at f2.8. We can see a little bit of pincushion distortion here. And again, in the center, we can expect, of course, it's going to be very good, very sharp, great color and contrast. The corners are going to be, wow, just as good. A very, very good performance here, wide open at f2.8. continuing to stop down to f4. Very, very good. Very sharp across the entire frame here at f5.6, looking fantastic. f8 probably even sharper, and then the same thing after. Probably about f8 is going to be our sharpest at 5.6, and then down here to f16 where we can start to see just a tiny bit of degradation. And once again, our minimum aperture here is f22, completely usable. So for sharpness, just a fantastic performance. So here are some of our competitors showing you a sharpness comparison as promised. Here we've got the G2 in the corner up here that we're working with. On the right side, we've got the original Tamron G1. And down here, we've got the G Master Mark II, 70-200, of course, f2.8. And then we've got the 70-200 macro f4, the newer lens from Sony down here. So this isn't going to be a perfect test. These were taken at different times and in some cases with different cameras. So it's not perfect, but it should give you a great idea of what we're looking at overall. Let's have a look at the center. And as you'd expect, the center of the image on all of these lenses is completely great. They're going to be fantastically performing. I think for me, the edge is going to go to the Sonys just by a hair here. The Sony here, the Mark II G Master is going to be have a bit more contrast for me, but the macro is just so incredibly sharp. Now, again, we're splitting hairs here. We're zoomed in quite a bit to the very center of our image. And as you saw earlier, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the sharpness that you get from both of these Tamrons, but this is just showing you the differences. Let's look into the corners where we're probably going to see the most difference here that you could probably expect. Over here, we've got, again, the G2, and it's performing a lot better than the Mark I here. You can see less chromatic aberration and a heck of a lot more detail. So fantastic upgrade in terms of corner sharpness here at f2.8. And you see the G Master here is just pretty much flawless, just an incredible performance here. And again, to be expected at probably 2.5 times the price of the Tamron. Well, I would hope so. Down here, we've got the macro, which is absolutely no slouch either. Just razor sharp. Crazy performance here for pretty much all three of these lenses. But this just really goes to show you the difference that you can expect from the Mark I into the Mark II. So corner sharpness, if that's something that you're concerned with, is just a massive improvement here at f2.8. And here we are in the middle of our aperture range here now, all at f8. And let's see the differences. If you can actually spot the difference in sharpness here, they're just all very, very good performers, as you'd expect here in the center of our image. But let's start walking up to the corners and see if we can notice any difference. Now, this is at f8, so most lenses you could probably expect to be pretty darn good at this point, but there are a few clear winners. And once again, you can see the massive upgrade between the G1 and the G2. A lot less chromatic aberration for me here, a lot less haze, definitely better contrast, and as expected, the Sonys are going to perform very, very well, just as you'd expect. As you can see, again, the big upgrade here is between the G1 and the G2, and just in terms of optics, if you're thinking about upgrading in terms of the Tamron here compared to the Sonys, well, that's going to have to be up to you. And of course, there are other benefits of using a native Sony lens over a third party, like shooting speed and whatnot, but as you can see, pretty darn impressive for the price, and absolutely thrilled with the new G2 compared to the G1, as you can see here. Here's a few more shots that I've taken with this lens, and for me it's also a really nice street photography lens because you can reach out and not get in people's space or even really let them know you're taking their photos sometimes. With 9 aperture blades, I'm really liking the autofocus backgrounds and transitions that I'm getting with this lens. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the bokeh overall.
So in terms of performance all around, this thing is a winner in my books and gets a solid 4.5 stars. And now let's have a quick look at the build and features of this lens. I'm happy to say that they've done a great job adding features and keeping it basically the same size. A little bit bigger, a little bit heavier than its predecessor. At 855 grams though, completely reasonable if you ask me. They do have that vibration compensation feature in there, and for an extra 50 grams or so, I think that's just a fantastic addition. Now, in terms of buttons and switches, all we've got is a little lock switch over here to help with creep, We've got a custom dial, 1, 2, and 3, and that's gonna help to customize your focus hold button here, which you can do using their app. You just plug it in and basically customize how this thing is going to perform. Now that button can be used in a multitude of ways, from a manual automatic focus switch. You can use it from an A to B point of focus. It's really neat what they've done with that, and I think it just adds a ton to their newer lens line. Now in the front here, we've got a nice big and grippy zoom ring. It's quite a short throw from 70 to 180 there, as you can see, just about maybe 1.5 inches out. And at the bottom, we've got a nice metal mount with a rubber gasket for confidence when it comes to weather sealing. On the back here is your manual focus ring. It's small and tactile, but just a little bit out of the way perhaps. Not a big deal, and I don't find myself using the manual focus too much because, well, the autofocus is just so good on this lens. Now close to the bottom, we do have that USB port to access either your phone or the computer, so you can custom dial this thing in just the way you like it. And on the front, we've got 67mm filter threads, same as the original, and all those coatings to help with ghosting and flare that you'd expect from a Tamron lens these days. Overall, for the build and features, I think this thing's fantastic, and again, a solid 4.5 stars from me. So there you have it, guys, and here's my final thoughts on the Tamron 70-180 F2.8 G2. I think it's a fantastic lens. I think it's a worthy upgrade, and I think for the money, it's really, really hard to beat. This is a great job from Tamron, and I would completely recommend this thing to you. Guys, if you did want to pick this up, I will drop affiliate links down in the description for you. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, join the community, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.